time. It's our time, my friends. Time for millions of maturepreneurs, 55 plus, who are hashtag not done by a long shot, to revolutionize how we lead, do business, and innovate our world. I'm your host, Jannette Anderson, and welcome to my conversations with fascinating people who would rather inspire than retire. Hi, Jannette here. I just had the pleasure of doing a coaching session with Deb Laurel of Deborah Laurel and Associates. She is an intrepid, fascinating, fabulous, and consistently persistent woman who is later in life and is still going strong. She started her business in 1986 and is still looking to expand. So we talked a lot about how to get corporate clients because frankly, she's struggling to get them, and the ways that she has been doing that in the past are not working. So if you are someone who is looking at consulting, potentially going in and doing any kind of training, facilitation work, or work with corporations in general, you're going to find this episode particularly helpful. It's really about how do you get past gatekeepers? How do you stay in the game? How do you stay persistent? How do you pivot and hone in on exactly the people that you need to be talking to rather than spraying and praying that you're going to make an impact with a whole bunch of content? So we talked about how to simplify, distill, and focus in a way that will help her make more sales and more impact. So please join us for this fascinating conversation with Deb. And if you would like to be coached, please sign up in the show notes. There's a link for being coached. It takes a brave soul who's willing to jump on. This episode is a little longer, again, but I guarantee it's full of different ideas and tips and hints and practical suggestions that you can apply in your business. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Maturepreneur Podcast. This is one of our special coaching episodes where I get to work with a real intrepid, brave entrepreneur who's here to get some support with something that they're working on in their business. And I think you're going to relate to today's conversation because, of course, it's about how to get more clients and how to hone the marketing and sales approach so that you can be more effective. Welcome, Deb. I'm really glad you're here.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, Jannette.
And so tell us a little bit about you. What is Laurel and Associates? What's your entrepreneurial journey been? Just give us some context about who you are and how you got here.
Well, I've had my business since 1986, and I have provided management development, curriculum design, and train the trainer programs, both nationally and internationally. My work has taken me to Africa, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe.
Wow.
My focus is on helping managers, particularly new managers, learn how to delegate, how to create a motivational environment, and how to give constructive feedback to underperforming employees, because those are three things that are very difficult for any manager, but particularly for new managers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And so 1986, that's a long time to be in your business. So what's been the biggest evolution that you've noticed? Because as I can see from your website and just knowing you, you have a tremendous breadth of expertise as well as depth of expertise. So what's been the biggest transition for you from, over the course of it? Because there's probably been, I would assume, several iterations, pivots, refinements as you went along.
Well, there have been several. You're asking the largest one, and the largest one was caused by COVID.
Mhm. Yeah,
Because
obviously.
I had been a on-site trainer and suddenly had to convert to virtual.
Hmm.
And I do continue to do virtual, but my preference is on-site. And my last on-site was in Equatorial Guinea for 10 days of management training.
Wonderful. Okay. So, you've obviously been doing this for a while. How much longer do you want to do it, and why are you still working?
I love what I do. I love the creative process. I love seeing the light go on in people's eyes. I feel a commitment to help employees have good managers because I've been an employee with a very bad manager and it affected my health and my well-being, and I don't want to see employees in that situation.
Mm,
So I'd like to do it for another 10 years if I can.
okay. And so tell me what has been some of the biggest challenges in terms of getting these new gigs to do what you want to do. So what do you predominantly lead with and in terms of the problem that you solve that's most relevant right now?
Well, I've been focusing on SaaS CEOs and founders.
Mm-hmm.
And for them, of course, profit is important and growth is important. And my focus has been on the fact that if they can't attract and retain good programmers,
Mm-hmm.
then they lose clients. And if their managers aren't good at keeping them,
Mm-hmm.
they lose clients, they lose profit, they lose scalability, and it's not a good situation for them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so how did you come to focus on SaaS and why? Why that particular tech niche?
Well, I was focused on nonprofit, and under the current administration, that's not a fruitful focus
Mm-hmm.
at this time.
Yeah.
So I thought about where are there managers who are being promoted from high performers without necessarily getting any support as a manager.
Mm-hmm.
And SaaS jumped out at me because they are a thriving industry.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, they can pay
Mm-hmm.
for management training.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to have them recognize that poor managers are holding them back.
Okay, and just for people who may not know, what is SaaS?
Software
As, as a service, yeah.
as a service,
And
yes.
so when you're talking about SaaS founders and people like that, these are companies that are developing applications or software that they sell on a membership basis, like QuickBooks, where I pay every month for accounting software, that kind of application, right?
Right.
Okay, and I'm assuming a lot of them are in the AI field now and creating stuff with that as well. Okay, so what do you think? So let's kind of dive into what's working, what's not working. And I want to start with how much do you think? Well, no, let's start with how you approach your sales first, because that's probably a better question. So, how do you currently get clients?
I haven't been.
Okay. How did you get clients in the past?
In the past, I got clients because I had contracts
Hmm.
as a result of responses to requests for proposals.
Okay.
So I
And
had
so,
statewide contracts, I had university-wide contracts, I had federal contracts.
okay.
Uh, there was word of mouth. I'm better known in Jordan than I am in the United States at this time because of word of mouth.
Okay. And how much do you still want to travel? Like, what would be your ideal scenario as far as clients that you want to get? Local, US, international? What would be virtual, in person? What would be your preference?
My preference is in person and international.
Okay, so you do still like traveling internationally and living abroad for the
I
time.
don't like traveling, but I
Mhm.
like it when I'm there
Okay.
and meeting the people and their cultures.
Okay. And any particular places that you like being more than others, like north south in terms of South America, Central America, or the Middle East? Where do you like being the most?
I have enjoyed being in Jordan
Hmm.
and Dubai
Hmm.
and Eastern Europe and English-speaking countries in Africa.
Okay. Uh, okay, so that's pretty broad destinations that you can approach. Uh, how is the current situation affecting Jordan and Dubai? Are they safe places to go and work still?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so far in Africa. Okay. Um, so tell me in the past how you got those gigs. So you replied to RFPs, but were there any other approaches that you did?
Well, the referrals,
Yeah.
and that was about it.
Okay. So there wasn't any outbound sales that you did in terms of reaching out and just saying, "Hey, can I talk to you about this?" Okay.
I
Uh,
never had to do that before COVID. No.
okay. And so are there just no RFPs going out, or are you applying and you're not getting them?
There was an RFP that went out and I got it. There
Okay.
was another RFP that I got that made me eligible for any department in a university, but they haven't taken advantage of that.
Okay. Okay. So in other words, you got on the short list of approved vendors.
Right,
Okay.
right,
Okay. But you probably weren't the only one. Is that correct?
right.
Okay. All right. So, what have you been doing that hasn't been working? So, what actions have you been taking?
All right. I have a number of actions that haven't worked.
Okay.
I have a LinkedIn Live program do every Tuesday morning
Mm-hmm.
that is called The Learning Advantage from Insight to Impact.
Mm-hmm.
I write blog posts every day during the week. I scheduled a webinar or master class with another colleague. We got 80 people who registered, 3 people showed up.
Heartbreaking. Okay.
That was on a Friday, and that may not have been a good day, so we're trying it again at a different day.
Mhm. What was the
Um,
topic of that webinar?
what great leaders know and do, the secrets of your most engaging managers.
Okay. Okay. Okay, great. And do you know, in terms of the registration, the demographic mix of who signed up? Do you know if most of them were managers? Were they CEOs? Do you know any of that? Were you able to track any
There
of
were,
that?
yes, I'm able to pull that data, and it was a good wide mix. I was inviting 1,000 people a week.
Okay. How are you doing those invitations?
Well, it was an event,
Right, but
so
were you sending out DMs or emails, or how are you inviting them?
DMs.
DMs, okay. On LinkedIn. And so you were picking by title? Was that how you were sorting them?
I was actually uh, picking by location
Location. Okay.
because title would have been takes me over 1,000 very quickly.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. And but you can, do you have uh sales manager? What's it called in LinkedIn? I forget.
Sales
Sales
navigator.
navigator. Thank you.
Yes, I do. And so
Okay.
I can pull
So yeah,
my
but you can
title.
also sort by both, right? So that you get a more distilled list of location and title, which is probably the most beneficial for you. Okay, so you are doing a lot of work. I gotta ask you, how are you? staying in the game when it's so hard? Because you're doing a lot of work, you're doing a lot of the things that should be working, you're not getting results and responses. As much as you do it because you love it, I'm assuming that also earning is important to you. So how are you managing to stay in the game? Because that mindset piece is as important as the rest of it.
Well, I'm persistent. There
Yep.
is one other thing that I have done, and it was based on what you recommended. I put together a research questionnaire
Mm-hmm.
and I started doing outreach to connect with CEOs
Mm-hmm.
of SaaS.
Okay.
And that has not been effective.
So you haven't been able to interview them? You haven't got
I have been able
responses.
to enter them. I have had only one person who was willing to do a questionnaire, but has not returned that questionnaire.
Okay. So,
So that has not gone well for me at all. And it is probably how I'm approaching them.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that for just a moment. And this is something just so for some context for folks. A lot of times, what I have my clients do is a research questionnaire, a series of questions that you reach out and ask your ideal prospects what their challenges and problems and frustrations are, what they wish was the case instead, what kind of solution they think they're looking for, what they would be willing to pay for it, what's worked and what hasn't worked for them. So that you better understand your market. That's one thing. So you can tailor your offerings to fit for them. Secondly, so that you get their language. How are they thinking about these things? How are they speaking about them in their head? So that you can adjust your marketing specifically to them. And then the third thing is that you create a warm list of prospects because the last question is when I create a program or a solution for this problem that you have that is your biggest frustration and get you this result that you want, would you like to hear about it? The answer is inevitably yes. And so you have a warm list of prospects. The biggest challenge is getting people to do the questionnaire with you. So the first thing is it's not to be a written questionnaire. You don't get the same responses when they write answers. And frankly, it's always at the bottom of everyone's list. So, what you need to do is book in person calls with them. So, you ask them to have 15 to 20 minutes of their time. 20 minutes is really more honest. So you ask to have 20 minutes of their time because you're doing some research to create programs that will solve a really big problem that people leaders like them are facing right now. And you're very specific about the problem that you're solving. One of the things that I would say in general, Deb, that is part of the problem is you have too many doors into your house. You're an expert in so many things. When I look at your um, website, even though it leads with, and by the way, it's a very good website, very comprehensive, very professional, and it leads with kind of the problem, lead the vision, let your managers lead the execution. We help SaaS founders turn middle managers into confident decision makers who deliver results, boom team morale, and retain top clients so you can focus on scaling your business. This is a specific problem that you're solving. I think it needs to be a little bit punchier. So you need to lead the vision, or you should only be leading the vision, let your managers lead the execution, or your manager should lead the execution a little bit more in your face. And rather than we help SaaS founders hire us to turn those middle managers into confident decision makers. But I think even that could be clearer in terms of what you said. The problem really is you've taken your high performers and turned them into managers and expect them to know how to manage. They don't. They know how to do the job well. They don't necessarily know how to manage, how to teach others to do the job well, how to create or use systems and processes to help them do the job well and manage them. It's a big mistake most companies make. It's kind of natural human nature to think that if they do this well, then they should be able to manage people to do it well. but it is entirely different skill sets. I think that needs to be made more explicit and stronger, and kind of a little more in their face to cut through the noise around. You've probably, the number one mistake leaders make, they turn high performers into managers without the right training. Okay, so that they get that there is a solution, but they also are kind of called on the carpet about the mistake that they've made and why it might not be working. Because it's good that you've got one problem that you are solving on the cover page. I think that's really, really smart. What I do see in your other positioning is so many different areas that you can help in, so many different workshops, so you can do online courses. I would encourage you to feature the ones that are the solutions to this problem that you've highlighted. Because when you have, a list of custom trainings that you can do or services, um, that is as big as what you have and the number of types of workshops that you can do, it makes you look like, even though you're not, it makes you look like a jack of all trades and a master of none. Because, like this list, hang on here. Oh, where did it go? Come on, there we go, workshops. That list of, a bazillion different topics that you can speak to. Oops, it's not sharing. Come here, share. Oh, it's not sharing the right thing. Never mind. You've got a big long list. And the point is, yes, you have depth of expertise because you've been doing this forever. Yes, you can help in all those areas, but that's too big you got to give people one choice, one solution, and take them on that journey. If you're leading with this problem, the thin edge of the wedge, which is great, follow through by taking them on the journey to here's how to solve that problem. So it could be simply that it goes from your homepage to a page specifically dedicated to that conversation. Then they can go and search around later and do that, but what you go into is the very broad problems you solve, the very broad approach that you have, the results that people can expect, all of which is good content. It's just doesn't specifically keep them focused on that one problem and your ability to solve it. So I would encourage you to be more explicit in the journey you take them on, in that positioning. That's one thing. Now, normally I don't have people bother with tweaking their website because frankly, I don't think it makes much of a difference. In your case with your market, it will. They will go and look at your website to establish your, bona fide fides and make sure that you have the expertise and so forth. They will go and look at how you position yourself, especially if you're answering RFPs. Um, so in this case, I would just be more explicit in how you take them on the journey through that, or how you have that conversation and keep the conversation focused until you get to a point where they say, okay, that's not my issue, and they go and look at the other stuff, right? Um, so I think that's one thing that will help. It's a tweak, but it's a tweak where you keep them focused on where you want them to focus. The second thing that I would do is your LinkedIn Live. Um, the challenge with doing marketing like a podcast, like a LinkedIn Live, like any kind of show or platform, is it has to be really explicit of who it's for and what problem it does it solve. We name things too generically. I used to have a podcast called The Bodacity Show. No one knew what the heck it was about or who it was for. Made sense to me because it was part of my branding, right? No one cares about our branding. They want to know who it's for and what it's about. So, learning advantage, insight to implementation or impact or whatever it was, I didn't write the whole word, is great, but I still don't know who it's for, problem it solves. It's too generic. So you may want to think about rebranding the show and make it explicit or develop a second one if you want and, kind of cut back on the frequency for this one. But unless you have a very explicit large following on this show, I would convert it and just rebrand it. If it feels like you're going to lose people that way, then you can start a new one and drive traffic to it. But I personally, for instance, changed my Purpose and Profit Sisterhood Facebook community to the Maturepreneur community because really a lot of the people that were in there already fit the new brand. It's just now I have men and women, it used to be women only, but it's largely the same people, the same demographic. So you need to make that decision strategically, but I would name it more explicitly. Um, you know, s- no, I should have thought of names before I got on here for you, but basically play with some names that is really clear about, um, you know, avoiding leadership mistakes. Because we will often move away from pain more than we will move towards pleasure. And short insights can be good. The program doesn't have to be long. It can be 5-minute tips on how to avoid the common mistakes that leaders make that keep their organization struggling. Okay, now if it's brief, it can be pain-based. If it's longer, like a webinar or something, it needs to be pleasure-based. Or a program. Webinars can be pain-based too. But target your audience. And even more specifically, I would narrow it down from leaders to your actual target CEOs or senior executives or corporate executives. Name it. Who is this show for specifically, and what specific problem does it help them? So, how to create, how to actually get star performance out of star players, or how to retain the how to retain and get the best from your managers. Something that's those are not as smooth as I would like them to be, but you get the idea. Have it be very explicit about what it's about and what it will do for them. Okay. Then it helps not only in terms of them identifying and saying, yes, this is for me, but also it helps with searchability because people aren't typing in learning advantage. They're typing in management tips, or they're typing in retention, or they're typing in training tips. They're typing in what they're looking for as the solution, which is why the research helps with that, because then you find out what is it that they're calling it, what are they looking for solutions to in their words. So it helps with searchability. Make sure that your title, do some keyword search, make sure your title and your description of the show have a lot of keywords and SEO words in that will make it A, more discoverable, and B, will help the algorithm drive it more. Okay. Because one of the biggest challenges is you're putting out content, but you aren't necessarily driving the right eyeballs to it. Okay. Because it's one thing to be prolific and put out a lot of content and hope that if we just throw enough out, the volume will attract attention, but it won't. Or if it does, it doesn't necessarily attract the exact people we want. So, one of the things that I would encourage is less volume, more focus in your space, in you're dealing with a few individuals. Really, we're talking about hundreds of potential prospects, maybe thousands in around the world that are your ideal clients, not millions. So you can create target lists and really hone in on targeting them with quality connections and content and conversations rather than quantity. Okay. And what I mean by that is have a list of 10 CEOs or 10, whomever is the right level that hires you. It might be the VP of sales, it might be, HR. I would try and avoid that, but um, the CEO or whatever, and pick 10 organizations that you think probably have this issue. Reach out to the CEO or the person who is the right contact for you. Ask if you could let them know you're creating a program specifically to help them turn star performers into competent managers, because that is seldom a transition people make with ease and with um, success. You are doing some research and would love to talk to them for 20 minutes to find out their experience of what works and doesn't work. And in exchange, you will provide them with your findings, anonymous, but your findings of what other leaders are doing in that regard so that there's benefit and value for them. Okay. Because 20 minutes of a CEO's time is a very valuable resource. So you got to make it worthwhile. You ask that question and you ask it and you ask it and you ask it until you get a no. Because you're not bothering them, you're cutting through the noise. They probably get 100 DMs. They might see yours once, even if you DM them 5 times, or send them a message, or send them an email. Reach out multiple times in multiple ways because they're just inundated. And yes, that makes you part of the problem, but it also means you've got to do that in order to be seen. They need to see your request a few times before they say yes. Now, your goal with that, Deb, your orientation is my goal, and you can tell them this. I don't mean to bother you. I know your inbox is full. I'm a clear yes is fine and a clear no is fine. Just let me know. Okay, so give them permission to say no. That gives them permission to say yes. And if they say no, say thank you very much for your time. Let me know if I can support you in the future with this issue. And then you move on to the next one on the list. But it sometimes takes 10 contacts to get that person on the phone with you or on Zoom with you. And that's what you want. An in-person conversation, don't do the research through a form. You're going to get a FaceTime, which is important because then when you say, if you'd like to find out what my research findings are, and when I create a solution to this, do you want to hear about it? They now are personally invested in you and in the outcome. They are co-inventing the solution with you. They have they what's the word I'm looking for? They've invested, so they now have kind of a vested interest in what happens. And you're more likely to get a yes. If it's just a form, they're no longer personally invested, right? So that's one of the things I would recommend is make sure that you have as many outgoing requests for that conversation as possible. So 10, 20 at a time, and keep talking to them, add another 10. Keep talking to them, add another 10. Now, you're not going to just stop with the research. You're also going to, when you have a blog post that you think might be relevant, hey, John, I know your company does this, and I just wrote this blog post about one of the challenges that leaders like you face. Thought you might find it interesting. You want to start getting to know them individually and adding value individually and driving them individually. I guarantee you, if you develop a list of 200 people that you are working on an ongoing basis, 200 companies, not thousands, 200, maybe even 100, that you keep on your list until you get a clear no from them. No, this is not a fit. No, we don't need your services. Then you take them off, put someone else on the list. And you work on individually connecting with them, you will start to get more responses. The spray and pray, putting out a ton of content, it's not going to work because it's not and hasn't been because it's not targeted enough to a specific pain that you can solve. Okay. The last thing I would say, and I was going to ask you earlier, is what has been your experience of ageism? How much do you think that's factoring in, if at all?
I don't know if it factors in here. I would assume that it does.
Yeah.
I have gone after permanent jobs where I haven't even had the courtesy of a response.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay, so I assume so as well. And so what I would encourage you to do is preempt that. Just address it right out of the gate. If you get into when you get into a conversation with someone, you just right out of the gate say, when you go look at my site, you'll see, or, as you can tell from us meeting here on Zoom, I have a lot of experience in this area. So you might think I'm old, but I'm actually just really, really useful. Okay, make light of it. Highlight the fact that I have a ton of experience. Highlight the fact that just out it. It's an elephant in the room, so just out it. Now that you see me, you may be going, oh my goodness, that's a lot of gray hair. And just say, and I've earned every one of them learning all the stuff that I know how to help you with. Or, you may see this face and see lots of wrinkles. What I want you to know is I earned every single one of them working for different clients through stressful situations to get them through to the other side. Okay. You just turn it into an advantage, but you out it right away. Okay. As soon as we do that, A, they get more comfortable. B, it reframes it. You're reframing how they're seeing it, and you're back in the driver's seat. All right. So change the approach to quantity, not quality. Much more outbound direct reach out. Okay. No more spray and pray, no more broadcast stuff, one-to-one connections. Get them on the phone or on Zoom with you, either to do the research or to have a call to just say, I'm helping people solve this problem. I'm curious what your experience with it is. Have you been having challenges with retaining those people who become managers or with getting the kind of performance out of their team that you once got out of them? Just ask them directly. Um, See what gets a response. Test it, play with it. Different cultures, you're going to get different responses, so you may have to approach it differently. I don't know anything about Dubai and Jordan and whether or not you need a more subtle approach like you would in Japan, for example. And even in China, you can't be quite as direct. You need to be very benefit oriented, but different cultures require different approaches. So you'll know that better. But you still want to lead with value and lead with clarity about the problem you're solving and for who. Be explicit, don't be apologetic, be bold, and be the alpha. So you're doing it wrong. Let me help you do it right. Okay, is the message. Or you're going to be struggling with this. You're not alone in that, but I can help you. Be very clear about this is not optional because we got to cut through the noise. All right. So, what are you hearing? This is a lot. What are you hearing in this for you that resonates? What doesn't? What's landing here?
Oh, it's all landing. It's all excellent. And it all makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that the advantage to it is you're relational, right? You like being heart to heart, belly to belly. You like doing things in person. And so as much as you have breadth of expertise and you can be broad, what works now and what I think will be more gratifying for you is personal connections. Coming back to that, we have a crisis of trust in the world. The only solution to a lack of trust is to build consistent connection, to be reliable, to be a source of value, and to be consistent. And you obviously have persistence down. So now we just want to take it into the individual, narrow down the scope so you're working less hard, but more focused. Less hard, meaning you may not need to do a blog post every day. It's not about content. You have a body of content. Repurpose what you've got. You don't have to continue to generate new content. You have more than enough content, my friend. Just repurpose it. Pull up the stuff that, what I do think you would benefit from is being a controversial commentator. So if you can take things that are happening currently. So, for instance, you said, I used to work with nonprofits with the current administration. I switched because they're being decimated and so forth. You do a blog post or a post about how to survive the current nonprofit um, Holocaust. Like you, or what's it called when they kill a whole society? Um, Genocide. you know be bold in that and post things that are topical and related. Now, you don't necessarily have to be political. You want to walk a fine line there because you got to be working with leaders who, from all different backgrounds and sides of the aisle, but you do need to be relevant. One of the things that is helps with ageism is relevance. So speak to current topics and its impact. And then those are the kinds of articles that you take and reach out and say, I was thinking of you, Mary, when I was writing this, because I'm willing to bet that this is something you're dealing with. Let me know if this article speaks to you and if you'd like to talk about some solutions to this problem. By the way, you can send that to Mary and Bill and Frank and Tom and all of them, the same, cut and paste the same message, okay? Because it's likely to be relevant to all of them. But it sounds like you're really connecting with them, and you are, okay?
Okay.
Less volume, more quality, more connection focused. The more you get to know them, the more you curate the relationships, the more you become the trusted advisor. Last thing, uh, and the more you can curate an experience that they have of you that separates you and differentiates you, an experience as that trusted advisor. That's the role. Okay, not a vendor. You're their solution partner and a trusted advisor. And that's what you call yourself. You are not a trainer. You are not you're not a curriculum designer. You're not a training the trainer. You are a solution partner and their trusted advisor. And the last thing I would say is those places where the RFP, where you got shortlisted, curate specific relationships with the people in the departments that need you and start having conversations with them. Go for lunch with them. Take them out to ask them if you buy them lunch, will they answer your questions on the survey? Get to know them individually. You'll be selected off the list if they know who you are. You won't be if they don't. When they scan down the list and they see your face and they see other people, they'll choose the younger person. That's just human nature. It's not right or wrong, good or bad. It is what it is right now. And so, but if they know you and they know that you're dynamic and that you can help and so forth, then they will pick you or at least call you in. Okay. So being
Okay.
shortlisted is the beginning, not the end of that process. Okay. Does that help?
Okay.
Okay.
Very
What
much.
what's the thing that's been the most helpful here and what are you going to apply right away?
Oh, all of it.
Okay. And I know you will. I love you, Deb. You are so action oriented and you are so unstoppable. I love it. And very practical in your business. I love it. Okay. So what's the first thing you're going to do?
Well, I'm going to make the change on the website.
Okay.
That's the first thing. I have to think about what to do, what to do about the learning advantage because I have people scheduled into October already,
Yep.
and they agreed based on what it was about.
Yep. Okay. And by the way, you can still keep it about that. Bring the edge and the conversation to it that you're shifting into in terms of being the trusted advisor. Uh, Let them know about the new branding if you decide to switch the branding and say, we're still going to have this conversation on this date and time. I'm just shifting the branding to be more targeted. That's all. So you can enroll them in the shift if you choose to, or you can start fresh. Do whatever is the easiest. Okay. You don't need life to be hard, just whatever is going to be the easiest. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You
This has
are
been
so welcome. And
incredibly
please,
useful.
Thank you. Please let me know how this goes. Our episode went way longer than it's supposed to, but I think this is such a big thing for so many people, and especially those of you who are consultants who are working with corporate. It can be so daunting and so disheartening because you're just a voice in the wilderness. So we have to really take a look at the fact that we have this trust crisis. Think about how do we actually connect human being to human being so that we stand out and get chosen? How do you clear away the obstacles, the elephants in the room, whether it's I don't have experience or I have too much experience or I'm old, but that doesn't matter and here's why, or whatever it is, just clear it out of the way, reframe it into an advantage and carry on. And you carry on like it doesn't matter because frankly it doesn't, and they will too. If we think it's an obstacle, so will they. All right, my friends, thank you so much for being here, Deb, and thank you for being willing, with all of the expertise and depth that you have, to be willing to come on and say, like, it's not working. So what do I do? That constant willingness to learn is the sign of a true entrepreneur and an indomitable woman. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
If you got any value out of this, go apply it because, of course, knowledge doesn't make a difference. Application and action does. And if you would like to be coached on the show, please fill out the application that there should be a link for below somewhere in the show notes so that we can have a conversation about you, your business, and how to get you to the next level so that you are visible, financially viable, and valued like you deserve to be. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. I'd love it if you left a comment and subscribed. And I encourage you to apply one aha from this interview right away so you can turn your wisdom into wealth and your contribution into positive change. Bye for now.